I think, therefore I am. This is Descartes' most famous philosophical proposition. We often tend to understand this sentence as, I think, therefore I exist. In fact, Descartes' original intention was, although I doubt the reality of all things, the one thing I cannot doubt is, I am doubting. Thinking about this matter, why did Descartes propose such a proposition? How did this sentence become a so-called famous quote? To the extent that it has led to many misunderstandings. This involves a thought experiment in his meditations on first philosophy. In short, Descartes, in order to find a certain and indubitable knowledge, proposed a hypothesis that there exists an evil demon, whose main task is to deceive and mislead people's perceptions and thoughts, making people believe false facts without their knowledge. Descartes proposed this thought experiment because this is not groundless. When we turn the clock back to the 17th century, a clear thread can be found in history. What the European academic world had to face at that time was the outdated scholastic philosophical system. How to innovate, how to establish a reliable system of knowledge, became a key issue in the intellectual history of humanity at that time. The first to propose a solution to this was the father of experimental science, Francis Bacon. He, with the help of new tools, brought the scientific method of induction onto the modern historical stage. 35 years after Bacon's birth, which is when Shakespeare was creating Hamlet, another philosopher, Descartes, was born. We can see in Descartes, we can see change. Descartes, unlike in the past at school, maintained a skeptical attitude towards all the knowledge he had learned, even though he came from a noble family. In that era, received a good education that many people could not accept. Descartes stated, theology asserts the divine truth. With the limited human reason, it is absolutely incomprehensible. Aristotle's syllogism can only be used to deduce known knowledge. It cannot provide any new understanding, so much so that philosophers have been in endless debates for thousands of years. These philosophies that are contradictory, all of them are deeply doubtful, and the knowledge building based on philosophy is also shaky in legitimacy. Surveying all human knowledge, only mathematics has a solid foundation, Euclid, yet humanity has not been able to establish a vast knowledge building in mathematics. So what did Descartes want to do? We can look at the concentration of first philosophy contemplation. How did he say at the beginning? Descartes said, because for a long time I have been able to feel, since my childhood, I have accepted a lot of mistaken beliefs as truth. Since then, I have built upon unreliable principles, things that have been established. That in order to establish something precise and reliable in science, something enduring, one must, in one's lifetime, seriously clear away all the beliefs that have been accepted as true. All of them. One must start anew fundamentally. Differs from ancient skepticism, which rejects believing in anything. On the contrary, Descartes' universal doubt itself is not the goal, but a means. Through this means, he aims to find that which is indubitable. Descartes believed that in order to prevent being surrounded by errors, philosophers must, from the beginning, because sometimes the senses deceive us. We can never be sure whether one is awake or asleep. Descartes himself is someone who really enjoys the philosopher who sleeps in, because he was not healthy since childhood, and Descartes often dreams. He said he often dreams of himself sitting by the fireplace reading. After waking up, he found himself lying in bed. Descartes said about this, but for this point, I immediately realize, when I try to think about trying to doubt, the necessary necessity is me. The person who is thinking about this point is someone to the point of doubting. The most extreme reasoning cannot completely overthrow it. I am certain that I will accept it without hesitation, as what I am looking for. The first principle of philosophy is built upon this absolute starting point. In other words, the so-called first principle of philosophy is just a starting point. Descartes' epistemological philosophical system is no longer based on that kind of, nor is it based on deductive reasoning from known knowledge, but rather a philosophical thought. This philosophical thought is a product of intuition. It is something that possesses intuitive truth. Because I think, therefore I am in this proposition, does not need to rely on. Of course, some people believe results obtained through intuitive activities are internal experiences. Descartes is not satisfied with obtaining an exact first principle of philosophy, but rather attempting to use this as a starting point, through innate ideas, to establish a more comprehensive system of knowledge. He believed that this system of knowledge should be beyond doubt. In order to achieve this goal, Descartes needed to find an absolutely trustworthy source. Descartes then proposed the argument for the existence of God. Next time, let's take a look together. Descartes' argument for the existence of God and innate ideas. Stay tuned as I take you through a popular view of philosophy.